Oh, sort the angles.
So this is live, is it?
Okay. Live on YouTube, right? No.
Yeah. Well,
see what you want, mate. Alright,
we're rolling.
Welcome to the little preview, little build up to the Liverpool game tonight. Joined by Mick Lewis. Thanks for joining with Mick.
No problem.
Legendary Newcastle United commentator, the voice of Newcastle over 25 years.
Thank you.
Back in tune tonight for a huge game. What's your thoughts?
Looking forward to it. I think, as far as Newcastle are concerned, it's pretty much a free hit. As is always seemingly the way at this time of year. They're safe. They are kept going by Rafa, and I think that's why they have the edge over, I think I said after the Tottenham game on Wembley Way, whereas Newcastle tend to sort of climb 15, 14, 13, 12, 11 at the end of a season. It's because Rafa keeps them going. Rafa will not take his foot off the gas. He won't let players freewheel. Other clubs, I think, tend to freewheel. I think they're on the beach by February. They stop playing. Rafa won't allow that. So as a result, they invariably end up somewhere between 10th and 12th. And as I say, as a result, they've got nothing to lose tonight. There's a part of me would like, and I say like not for Liverpool's sake or for my sake, but for Newcastle and football's sake, I would like Liverpool to win the Premier League, but they obviously cannot win the Premier League and not beat Newcastle tonight. So I don't want Liverpool to win tonight. I want Newcastle to beat them. I want them to put on a show. I want this huge flag to devastate the world of football. I want the atmosphere at St James's Park to again remind people, these stupid people who have this notion that Newcastle are in some way deluded about whether they're a big club or not, or whether their support is as good as people make out. It is an opportunity tonight to again show the world what Newcastle are all about and remind Rafa Benitez exactly why he sees it as a project. He sees it as a long-term goal to make this club bigger and better than it is, if possible. And as a result, I'm hoping, they put on a bit of a show tonight. So they're missing one or two players. But I think there's an opportunity there. And I think Liverpool, I honestly think the result in Barcelona does Newcastle a favour, because I think Liverpool were being driven in terms of their Premier League assault by what was happening in the Champions League. I've just got this feeling that Liverpool, after what happened in the Nou Camp, might think to themselves, do you know what it is? We have had the most phenomenal season, and they have had a phenomenal season. But they're going to come up short in the semi-final of the Champions League, and I think they know in their heart of hearts they're going to come up short in the Premier League. And as a result, I think they're probably a little bit low at the minute. I think they're probably thinking, what have we got to do? What have we got to do to win a Premier League? We've only lost one game.
Yeah.
What have we got to do to win a Champions League when, we weren't 3 goals worse than Barcelona? One fella was the difference, So I think Liverpool might be a little bit vulnerable. I would like them to win it because I think it'd be good for English football. And when you think that they were 25 points behind Manchester City last season, even for clubs like Newcastle, it offers up a little bit of hope that the likes of Manchester City just won't win it year in, year out. So that's my thoughts pre-match. But I think it'll be a fantastic night.
And the only team that's beat Manchester City in 2019 is, of course, Newcastle.
And it would be some double, wouldn't it? And really, again, going back to this whole the whole aura about Newcastle United and what they do and what they don't do and what they're capable of and what they're not capable of. Again, it would just be typical that they would have a mediocre season, but they would be the only club in the Premier League to beat both Manchester City and Liverpool, which is some feat, So yeah, it's all set up nicely, and as I say, moving the back has been wrong in many ways in terms of people's arrangements, people's travel, etc., etc. But it gives people a day to look forward to it. It gives fans a day on the drink. I mean, the atmosphere. Honestly, it gives me goosebumps now thinking about what St James's could be like at 8 o'clock, because I think it'll be a throwback to Barcelona. I think it'll be a throwback to Manchester United that night. I honestly think they'll be up for it. Liverpool have got to give it absolutely everything. Liverpool fans are buying tickets, like there's no tomorrow. So I just think it'll be a fantastic night.
You mentioned it as well about the giant surfer. We're looking forward to seeing that. Can't wait to get wise. a well-kept secret, isn't it?
Well, I can't wait to see what's on it. It's a bit like Da Vinci, unveiling his latest masterpiece, and it's kept under wraps, and it's in a gallery somewhere, and you queue up on the day, and suddenly they pull the curtains back, and you go, oh, that's what it is.
That's the fact that they're hoping for. They've been on TV across the world.
It's a bit like that, exactly. And the great thing is, as you say, it's got a worldwide TV audience. The first thing I said to people when I left the Midlands this morning was, get in front of a telly at 7:45 tonight and have a look at this thing, And I posted a picture earlier on Facebook of the famous promotion flag draped over the front of the three bulls, at the Haymarket back in '93, and you just think to yourself, back in the day they were doing things like that, and now they've started doing it again. I know they fell foul of fire regulations and all sorts. But for these lads to drive out to Poland, to pick up a flag, to raise the money, it is absolutely mind-boggling, and for what? For a team that finishes 11th, 12th, doesn't give them a great deal of entertainment an awful lot of the time. But again, as I say, just the opportunity to show the country and show the rest of the world exactly what these fans are capable of.
And what did Newcastle have to do tonight to have any chance of picking up a result against Liverpool?
Well, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because, as we always say with Liverpool, almost, in the worst, almost the worst thing you can do is go about attacking them, because they're just so good on the break. They're just so good on the counter attack. They've got fullbacks to die for. They'll get forward. They've got a front three. Any one of the three could score goals, and they've got to go for it. That's the thing. But as I said earlier, I just think there is an element, and I know there's a lot of kidology in football, and I know managers tend to say nice things about the opposition, etc., etc. But when Klopp said yesterday, this is a really difficult game. This is a difficult place, and it was more the fact that he was saying it was a difficult place than it was a difficult game. I think he knows that 99 times out of 100, the way Liverpool are now, the way Newcastle are now, Liverpool would win the game. They certainly wouldn't lose the game. There might be a few draws thrown in.
Yeah.
But factor in St James's tonight. Factor in the crowd. Factor in the fact that they've been to the new camp very, very recently and been on the end of a 3-0, which shouldn't have been a 3-0, but has ended, to all intents and purposes, their participation in the Champions League, and they are a little bit vulnerable. They see Manchester City not making mistakes. I think if Newcastle are brave tonight, I'd like them to be brave.
Got to take a chance as well.
Exactly. I'd like them to, the Perez of late.
Where's he came from?
Absolutely. And the great thing is, it all seems to have started from the minute that he did an interview where he said, I need to go back to Spain, I need to be playing for Spain. And everybody said, well, you're kidding yourself, you're not going to get a top team in Spain.
Yeah.
You're not going to necessarily get a Spanish cap. But all of a sudden, he's shown himself capable of doing both things. So, but whether it be Perez, whether it be Rondon, whether it be Richie, whoever it be, let's just be brave. Let's have, because as I say, it is a free hit. Absolute free hit. It doesn't matter. If Newcastle lost 3-0 tonight, then no one would bat an eyelid. But if they won 1-0, the world of football would be, oh God,
As it stands, it's Rafa Benitez's last game in charge at St James's Park.
Yeah.
Will he be here next season?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm sticking my neck out, and I'm not saying that I'm making an overly bold statement. But if you go back to the interview I've done since I left and interviews I did at the time, I only had Rafa for about 6 or 8 months, and in that time you get to know him, and there are other people, the locals get to know him, but I'm sat with him 4 or 5 times a week, post-match, pre-match, post-match, pre-match, etc., etc., and you get to know a guy. And we did a couple of nights together, and what was apparent at that time was, after a scarring experience at Real Madrid, which he never stopped talking about how badly he'd been treated at Real Madrid, he came back and found a group of people who appreciated him. He found a set of fans who loved him. He found a set of people who took to him and eased the emotional scars of Madrid. And I think if he was going to go, and if he was ever going to go, I think he would have gone that season when he didn't really have that relationship. He didn't really have that rapport with the fans. They'd been relegated. Nobody would have been overly surprised if he'd gone. Nobody would have blamed him if he went. I know for a fact he did look at a couple of clubs at the time. And obviously his standing then, believe it or not, was probably higher than it is now, because he was fresh out of Real Madrid. People have said, well, he's gone to Newcastle, but he's been Real Madrid, Napoli, etc., etc. But he did go then, and I thought, aye. And then slowly but surely, you could see the relationship developing into the relationship it is now, where there is a genuine fondness on both sides, from fans and from Rafa. But I think what's happened in the meantime is, I think he's sat back and he's thought to himself, look, I've done the Valencia. I've turned them into a top team in Spain. As a result, I've got the reward of going to Liverpool. I've turned them into a Champions League winning team. I've been the most successful manager at Anfield in years. As a result of that, I've got top jobs on the continent. I've got the Real Madrid job, which was his dream job as a boy. He was a Real Madrid fan. Now, all of a sudden, you leave Real Madrid, you're a little bit emotionally scarred, and you want, as I said, somebody to take to you, somebody to love. But I think what he's found at Newcastle as well is he's found a project. He uses the word occasionally, but it's the best word. It's the best word for me. He sees this as a project, in the same way that when he was first a coach at Extremadura and these small second division Spanish clubs, he had a project. And you have managers, coaches, in fact most people in many careers have a project at one end and a project at the other end, and in the middle it's the serious stuff. So I think now he's looking at Newcastle, and he looks at the fans, and he looks at the club, and he thinks to himself, look, why would I want to go to A, B or C, where I could get sacked 3 months later, I could lose my job, and it would be a bad way to end my career. I think he sees ending his career here, trying. He might not succeed, and obviously that'll be down to purse strings, and it'll be down to what the owner does. But I honestly think, I really don't think, honestly, in my heart of hearts, there's been too much doubt in his mind that ultimately he would stay, And I think as a result, and I think sooner rather than later, I listened to him again. When you've sat down and talked to him as often as I have, you get a sense of the fella, and his body language. Yesterday, I think one of the journalists asked him, "Do you think we might hear something fairly soon?" And he sort of said, "You'll hear, you'll know when we know." And I get the impression that I think in the foreseeable future he'll commit himself.
Great stuff. Finally, give us your score prediction for tonight's game.
Score prediction, I think, as much as I would love to say Newcastle will win the game, I don't think they'll lose the game, and I think it might be a 2-2 draw. I mean, it's been a fixture that's been full of goals over the years, and as I said earlier, Liverpool have got to go for it. Newcastle have got no option or no reason not to go for it. So who knows? A 2-2 draw.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Mick. Appreciate your time.
No worries.
Cheers, mate.